All right, welcome to the second installment of my series I like to call the business of being a beauty guru. I gotta be honest with you all, I almost didn't film this particular installment because there's been so much going on in reference to the beauty community and drama, and I almost preempted this particular episode for to talk about that, but that is further down in my plan. So I decided let's just go ahead and go with the plan because we want to stay focused on how we're planning on doing it. So even though we have been discussing beauty drama, I didn't want to talk about it in this particular installment of my mini series. So if you would like to see what I'm talking about when it comes down to the personality side of the business of being a beauty guru, don't go anywhere. All right, so welcome back to this series of mine. I hope you're enjoying it. Please make sure you leave comments, share it out. Let people know about it if you think it's a good series. Okay, so I wanted to we talked about personal branding in the last episode. I will put the description. There will be a playlist for this particular series, and I will put the description. I'll put the link in the description box. Oh, that took so long to say. But anyway, let's just talk about it. So, I talked about personal branding and how it affects what you're doing. Now, understand, even though I'm talking about specifically the business of being a beauty guru, because this is the community or niche that I am involved in primarily, this kind of thing goes on in every aspect of social media. Whatever you're doing, however you're doing it, this is very important to it. So I wanted to talk about how it is personality driven. There was a time when and let's just be real, when it comes down to anything entertainment wise, it is all about personality and how people perceive you as a person. Now, understand this has nothing to do with who you really are necessarily, but it is the perception that is overwhelming for you as a person. A lot of times when it comes down to when you're talking about people in general in reference to like entertainers and things, a lot of times, especially if they are actors, it is who we identify as one of their characters. Like for instance, Bill Cosby, everybody identifies him as Heathcliff Huxtable. Now, that is a character that he played. That does not mean that's who he is, but everyone assumes that is him because that is who we identify his personality as, whether we know any, because that is all we've ever seen of him. We don't, he's not that person. Now we come into social media, and social media is very personality driven, and the reason being is because we're unscripted, or if we are scripted and edited, it's more about you, that person, not something like a character you're playing of some, in a TV show or a movie or anything like that. So therefore it is much based on the personality that is prescribed to you. Now, for the purposes of this, I am going to be talking about larger beauty gurus and the perceptions of them, good or bad, and the reason, and by seeing how the personality is, then you can see, what I mean by the personality driven nature of what we do. I want you to say that when you talk about this, it has to be in general, it has to be a personality that you can sustain. A lot of times people want to see who you are or who they think you are, because let's be honest, not necessarily every person is like this in real life, but they consistently show this personality that people then identify with. They either identify with, admire, want to be like, think, that it's the coolest. Like for instance, for me, if you meet me in person, this is who I am, the person that you see on camera. However, you must understand that not everybody is going to be just like you see them on camera, because on camera is about what you are trying to give to the audience. On camera is about what you what works and gets people to watch you and to, identify with you and to help sustain you as a business. Because because at the end of the day, this is business. It is about what you create, how you create it, and how you create income from it. And with this whole system, it is about the person. It isn't about, yes, they get involved with collabs and everything, but everything is personality driven, personal brand driven. And so therefore is the most important piece. 2 pieces is your personal brand and the personality part of your personal brand. Because really, one of the things you have to understand, you can be the best makeup artist, you can be the most creative, you can be the best reviewer out there, but if your personality isn't that great, if you're boring on camera, if people cannot relate to you and enjoy watching your videos based on your personality, you will never attain what you want to attain. So you must make sure that you come forth of the person that you want the world to see. All right, so let's give you some examples. Now, I said the good, the bad, and the untouchable. And yes, there are untouchables, and we know who they are. So let's talk about the good. Now, remember, this is about perception. This is not necessarily who they are. So let's first talk about some of the good ones. Emily Noel right here. Emily Noel is seen as very unproblematic. She's just sweet. She just does her thing. She works, she's got her family. She's got her bub, her husband. She's very focused on what she does. She seems very kind-hearted. And so because of that, that is what everyone sees of her. And so if anytime there's anything that something was said in the negative about her, people will come to her defense because that is not the person that they see. That is not who she portrays on camera. Now, is that who she really is? I don't know. I've never met her. But that is the personality, and that is the personality that drives her audience and sustains them coming back. Not only because she's very knowledgeable of what she does, but also because she's just a very sweet person that people love to watch. Let's just be honest. I'm gonna put her up here. Y'all know, hey, I'm gonna tell the truth. Tati, besides being a good reviewer, and I never take that away from her, people have this perception of her personality. She's this really nice person. She's really kind-hearted. She's always trying to help people. That is the perception. So when things go down, we assumed that she's telling the truth. We assume that she has no guile. Her fans, the people who watch her, assume there's no, she's not being disingenuous, because that's not who she is. That's not who she is. When we watch her because people watch her because they believe in her. They trust her. They trust who she is. They trust how she talks. They trust all of those things about her. And so because of it, when she puts something out, people automatically believe it because she said it, because she would not lie to us, because she is seen as this very honest person. So that is some of the good of, when it comes down to the personalities. Of course, there's many others that have really good personalities that people love, Jessica Braun from Jam Beauty. I mean, there's a list of people who are unproblematic, who are just thought of as really nice people, the good people on YouTube in the beauty community, who just, do their own thing and are not problematic in the least. Now let's talk about the bad ones. Now we know the issue happened with James Charles, and the reason why that happened with James Charles is because yes, people love him. Yes, he has a huge fan base, but because of his personality, it was easy to assume that what they said about him was true, because he's over the top. He can be irritating and annoying, and he seems very full of himself. And so therefore, and arrogance and all the other words that are used about him. So therefore, automatically, when something was said by someone who that is considered very honest, very true, very sweet, very all these other adjectives that are very nice, says something about them, and they know, and we know that they've always been around each other, then it has to be true because of the personality that he puts out there. He's so he's so big, he's so bold, he's so loud. So therefore, it automatically it is easy to think the worst of him. Now, another one. Let's just talk Manny, MUA. Now, let me say this. Personality-wise, he's not a bad person. However, the thing that has hurt him is that we see him as a social climber, which is seen as a bad quality in a person. That's seen as a bad quality. So even though he's not doing anything really horrible, once there was any niggling of issues with him, then it was just like he was sunk, because we see him as a social climber. And once we saw, besides everybody thinking of him as a social climber, then we see some bad things said or bad qualities about him. It has plummeted him since that time, and he has not been able to recover. Did he do anything extremely bad? No, he did not do anything that was so that was so horrendous that he should suffer the way he has been suffering because of it. But because people already had this thought about him, thoughts about him and how he moves and things about him, it just compounded. And once that was once that was said about him, it just compounded the whole situation, and boom, it was a wrap. He has still trying a year later. He's almost a year later still trying to recover from what happened in 2018. But it's all based on his personality and how we thought of him, and given the chance to say, oh no, bad, and once the overwhelming majority jumped on that bandwagon, it's been hard for him to recover from that bandwagon. Now, let's talk about the untouchable. Now, let's just be honest, we can call a spade, and I know this is a very bad analogy from what I'm about to talk about, but let's just talk about it. Jeffree Star. Now, once again, when it comes down to his business, when it comes down to, his business sense, his video, his reviews and things, and makeup and everything, hey, I will never take anything away from him. He does very well with that. I think he's very good at it. I love his commentaries about those things, but he is problematic. He says things. He tweets nasty things and he deletes the tweets. He gets involved in drama. We know he has a history of saying racist things and things like that. And yet, he still survives. And that is because he has this untouchable quality. Now, I cannot say, for one thing, he already had a fan base, but also his fans don't care. They don't care about all those things. He is untouchable. I'm being honest with you. I think that Jeffree could, they could catch him on film, throwing gas on somebody and lighting him up. And his fans would then make a argument that clearly this man wanted to be put on fire by Jeffree, and Jeffree had to do it, and they would come up with a plausible explanation for whatever he did, and he cannot be touched. Even when there are times when he is doing things that's problematic, ultimately the people come to his defense. And he can bop around, but he's also a larger than life personality. So by being a larger than life personality, he can get away with so many things. We see him with the pink, whatever that car is. We see him with the Birkin bags and all of this luxury and all of this over the topness, and wearing the Gucci track suits, and we look at him and he is looked at as he is above everyone. So no matter what he does, he's untouchable, and that is the personality he has. And it works for him. Now, will that work for everybody? It will not. There are only certain people who can, that it works for. Let's be honest, Jaclyn Hill has been pretty untouchable over these years. However, with the debacle of her cosmetic line, she has now lost a certain amount of her untouchableness, you know, because everybody just took it as, this is Jaclyn. She's loud, she's, you know, over the top. And those are the type of personalities that usually hit untouchable status. Once they become popular, they are untouchable because they're so loud. They're so, you know, they're this larger than life personality that people will accord them all kinds of passes for bad behavior, passes for things that if anybody else would do, they would be no. Everybody would not go along with it. They would say no to it. They would, you know, that person would suffer from it, but not when you are in the untouchable status. So, you know, not everybody hits there, but there are those that do. Okay. So when it comes down to, so those are just a few of examples of what I mean by the good, the bad, and the untouchable. And I'm sure you can think of other instances, and I would love to hear some of you all's examples of all of those three, the good, the bad, and the untouchable, because this shouldn't just be about me talking. I would love to hear your thoughts on this subject. So, and hey, tell me what kind of personality you think I am. I would love to hear that also. But anyway, let's get back to it. But, you know, in conclusion, because I want to sound very, you know, put together. No, but seriously, when it comes down to this, as you do this as a business, for everyone who's on social media, using social media to create their own brands and doing their own personal branding, look at what type of personality you're going to be. Are you going to be a good one? Are you going to be a bad one? Are you going to be someone like Jen Loves Reviews, who's a very informative, like Stephanie Nicole, people who we look at because we see them as you know, of the informative person, that we trust their word, you know, things like that. So you want to see what type of personality is you, and not just making up a personality, but what is truly you, and what kind of personality are you, and and with that, then embrace that personality and work it, like I always say, like a $2 hoe, and because $2 hoes work hard. It's just a saying of mine before y'all get all offended. No, but seriously, you know, you must see what type of personality you will be, what type of personality you put out. And finally, you know, I want to say thank you for watching these videos that I'm coming up with. I do have more coming in this series. This is the second installment in it. Please feel free to give me any suggestions. What are your thoughts on personalities in the beauty community, or whatever community that you watch? I would love to hear about them so I can go check them out. All right, so as always, it's Chalulu. Be bold, be brave, be fearless, be free. Talk to you later.